All right, so let's jump into our top movies of 1988. I'm happy to go first. One honorable mention, and that's Oliver and Company, which we've covered on this podcast before because I ranked every Disney animated film. I just think it's cool and want to reiterate again that Billy Joel only ever did one movie and he did a pretty good job in it, and it was this one. And it just blows my mind that that's a fact that he never did another movie. My number 10 is Alice. It was a, and continues to be a Czechoslovakian because of when it came out in 1988, a Czechoslovakian stop motion animated version of Alice in Wonderland, done with dolls and toys and things like that. It is,
Interesting.
yeah, it's creepy. It's disturbing. It's very good.
Mhm.
As has been well established on this podcast, I'm really into stop motion animation, and this is a pretty cool use of it, unlike anything you'll see in theaters now. Much more in line with something like Todd Haynes's stop motion animation movie that he did with Barbie dolls.
That's the thing.
It was like one of his first things. Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story, which is a 43-minute film about Karen Carpenter that's supposed to be super disturbing and weird.
Is that available to watch anywhere? Because I've never even heard of that.
I've never seen it. It's not available
Okay.
to watch. I'm sure, look, if we want to do a little project and go find it, I'm sure we could.
Maybe we could
Uh,
ask Nicholas Winding Refn. Maybe he's seen it.
he's, my number nine is a movie that you don't like. It's Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
I quite
My,
like it.
my kid's standing out here too, getting some food, and she's shaking her head at me because she loves Beetlejuice too.
Viv is right. Beetlejuice is good. I like it a lot. I'm not I can't say I'm excited for the sequel to come out this year, but I've heard it's all practical effects, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious at least. I like the original. It's a Tim Burton movie with Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, and then the eponymous Beetlejuice is played by Michael Keaton. The disgraced Jeffrey Jones is here as the father. I think his career is so weird. The fact that he got acting gigs after it came out that he was a pedophile is so strange.
Winona Ryder, let's not forget.
And Catherine O'Hara. All great. I like Beetlejuice a lot. I think it's really fun. My number seven is the movie we talked about in our 1998 podcast, The Thin Blue Line. Sorry, my number eight, not my number seven. Documentary about the murders down in Dallas. Errol Morris, changing the way the documentary game works. Incredible stuff. My number seven is The Naked Gun. This is a Zucker Brothers movie starring Leslie Nielsen, Priscilla Presley, O.J. Simpson, Ricardo Montalban, and George Kennedy. This cast doesn't make sense. Okay. We grew up watching these movies. So to me, these are all comedic actors. And then when you get older, you're like, OJ Simpson is not an actor. Priscilla Presley is not an actor. And George Kennedy and Leslie Nielsen were dramatic actors for their entire career. And then all of a sudden this happens. I mean, this is based on a television show that they were both in too. But
Mm-hmm.
before that show, they were serious. George Kennedy was like one of the most serious character actors of the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm. It's weird that I don't remember watching these a ton as a kid. I don't have them in my list or anything. I haven't seen them in forever. It's not that I don't have anything against them or don't like them, but I don't have that relationship that a lot of people our age have with them.
We rewatched, first off, again, watched them, all three of them, tons, probably the third one the most, tons
Mm-hmm.
growing up. But we rewatched this. My wife and I rewatched this a couple years ago and it totally held up.
Yeah.
My number six is Midnight Run. So this is a great movie by the, I want to say, unimpeachable Martin Brest, but he has been very impeached because Geely happened. But I still think that it stinks that that ruined his career because I love the movies of Martin Brest.
Can I say something about Geely is bad. It's a bad movie, but it's also it's not like a special kind of bad where yeah, it should disqualify him from like any future. It's just a bad movie, right? There's a lot of bad movies, and there are worse movies than Geely, quite frankly.
Well, I think it's a case where it's more like Don't Worry, Darling, where it wasn't just that the movie was bad, but
Yeah,
also that everything around the movie, all the drama that surrounded the movie, overshadowed it.
definitely.
And like you don't see Olivia
Definitely.
Wilde doing a whole lot right now. So,
Definitely.
and again, like Don't Worry, Darling, it's not a good movie, but it's a fine way to spend 2 hours. The ending just stinks.
I disagree with that, but I also don't think it's like a special kind of bad. I just think it's bad.
Fair enough. Midnight
Yeah.
Run is a special kind of good. It stars Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. Grodin is a finance guy, I think, who stumbles into controversy. He's the fall guy who's taking all the heat for the exposing it, and De Niro is a bounty hunter who wants to get the bounty for bringing him in. And then there's a bunch of criminals after him, led by Dennis Farina, and the cops are after him, led by Yaphet Kotto. This movie rules. De Niro and Grodin are hilarious. De Niro's relationship with Yaphet Kotto in the movie is hilarious. I only saw this for the first time like 6 months ago. Have you seen
Never
it?
did it. Would like to.
Oh, man. If I had to do it over again, I might give you. Oh no, we did Grave of the Fireflies, so that's Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, my number 5 is Die Hard. I don't have a special place in my heart for Die Hard. I have a special place in my heart for Die Hard with a Vengeance, which we went over in our 1995 podcast. But you don't get Die Hard with a Vengeance without Die Hard, and John McTiernan made a good movie in Die Hard. My number 4 is wow, lots of animation coming up. The next 3 are all animated films from
Oh
Japan.
wow.
My number 4 is My Neighbor Totoro. So this is a great one. This is the first major Studio Ghibli Miyazaki movie. It's not the first one he did. It's the first one that blew up in America. So Hayao Miyazaki tells the story of 2 young girls whose mom is in the hospital and the things they imagine or experience in real life, who knows, who's to say, to cope with their mother being ill. It's very sweet. The eponymous Totoro is iconic.
Iconic.
He is one of Ghibli's icons. My number 3 is Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira. I believe you've never seen this.
Never did it.
You should.
Again, there's no reason I shouldn't have. I should have seen that by now.
Yeah, so everyone knows Akira, but I'm going to tell you what it's about if you don't. It's a cyberpunk story about a bunch of a trio of kids. Basically, the 3 main kids are the ones that are the most important in a motorcycle gang, and one of them becomes infected with a technovirus kind of thing, and then is the cause of the apocalypse. Basically, this movie is so cool. This was one where I remember when I watched this, I was watching it for the first like 30 minutes in Japanese and then wondered how bad could the dub really be? And the dub's pretty good, the English dub. So I ended up watching it in English. Had a similar experience watching Mars Express, which is a French animated film, one that I just went recently to see in the theater. And I was fairly confident that I bought tickets to the French version. And then when I got there, they started speaking in English and I was really upset. But then the dub ended up being pretty good. So that industry has gotten better. Although here in 1988, it's pretty good. Highly recommend Akira. My number 2 is Grave of the Fireflies. If you want to know more about what we think about Grave of the Fireflies, the story of, again, 2 young people enduring World War II without any help from adults. It's a very sad story. We talk about it at great length in our 1988 full episode. And then my number 1, it's one of the best movies of all time. It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. If you don't know what Who Framed Roger Rabbit is, it's Robert Zemeckis' cartoon live-action hybrid starring Bob Hoskins as Eddie Valiant, the most typical detective of all time, Joanna Cassidy as his girl Friday, so to speak, Christopher Lloyd as one of the scariest villains in the history of children's movies, Judge Doom, and then Charles Fleischer doing an amazing job as always as the voice of Roger Rabbit, as well as other characters in the movie, and Kathleen Turner putting in an iconic turn.
Every time we've used it this episode, it's been apt though, so I can't complain.
Yep, as Jessica Rabbit. There is no Jessica Rabbit voice that isn't Kathleen Turner.
Absolutely. Great list. I'm going to preface my list only by saying release date wise, Grave of the Fireflies came to the US in 89. So that would be on my 89 list. It's the only reason it won't appear here. My number 10 film, starting right off with Mike Nichols' Working Girl. This is a film starring Melanie Griffith. She is a young office worker. I don't even know what the business is. It doesn't matter. She works in an office and she wants to climb the ladder. And her boss is played by Sigourney Weaver, who breaks her leg in a skiing accident. And that ends up being like her opportunity to kind of work her way up the ladder. And she starts this relationship up with Harrison Ford, who's not playing an action hero for once. So it's kind of cool to see him just kind of playing a regular guy. Very 80s, but very, very fun. My number 9 movie is Eddie Murphy's Coming to America, which recently had a sequel for some reason, which was not that bad, but the original is quite a bit funnier. About the African prince who comes over to America, and hilarity and hijinks ensue. Certainly one of Eddie Murphy's more memorable films. One of the ones that certainly holds up still today. My number 8 film is Lawrence Kasdan's The Accidental Tourist, starring William Hurt and also Kathleen Turner, previously mentioned. And Gina Davis is in this. She won her Oscar for this movie. William Hurt plays a travel writer named Macon Leary. He processing the death of his son, and his wife Kathleen Turner's also having problems with this. And then when they separate, William Hurt meets a manic pixie dream girl played by Gina Davis, and kind of follows their relationship from there. But very good movie. Like I said, Gina Davis is very good in it, and I love Gina Davis.
A Ricky Stenicki type, if you will.
A very Ricky Stenicki type, yes. Very much. My number 7 film is John McTiernan's Die Hard. Like you, these aren't like very super special movies to me, but I just think, the first one is great for an action movie, action comedy. It's really good. I get really irritated every year when people have this like, it's a Christmas movie. No, it's not a Christmas movie. I'm like, who cares? Like, it's just a good movie. Just watch it whenever you want.
I think it's over. I don't think that conversation's really happening anymore.
I see it every year.
So, but this is because you follow these like meme accounts about movies on Facebook, and I don't understand why you do this to yourself.
I don't follow them. They show up in my like suggested places, and I
Okay,
block, and then I keep blocking them, and then they keep popping up.
so I fell into this same thing recently. Someone posted on a DC thing. It showed up in my suggested. I only go on Facebook to look at the Never Did It page. There was this image that I'm pretty sure was AI generated that came up that showed
Mm-hmm.
six of the past most recent people who've played Superman except for Dean Cain and George Reeve. They're not there. And it
Mm-hmm.
showed their name, their height, and their age. But it showed all their ages now. It's like Brandon Ruth, 44, Henry Cavill, 41. Like they weren't that age when they played Superman. And then it
Yeah.
said Christopher Reeve, 54. And I'm like, wait, what?
What?
Why are you showing the age he was at his death? This is so strange. So I comment that, and now people are defending it as if it needs to be defended. This is not a conversation we need to be having.
No, there's no relevance to this whatsoever.
And yet I got caught up in it. So we really just got to get off Facebook.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't do a whole lot on there anymore either. But
Anyway, the
yikes.
moral of the story is I don't think that real people care about whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Right. It's just cool. It's just a fun movie. Reginald Val Johnson is great. You know, Carl Winslow from Family Matters. Fun to see him in a movie. Yeah, Die Hard is cool. My number 6 is that year's Best Picture winner, Rain Man, directed by Barry Levinson. It's a movie about Tom Cruise learning that he has an autistic brother that he never knew about until he's in, I think he's in his early 30s or late 20s or whatever. So he learns he has an autistic brother. They end up having to take a road trip together, and he learns how to care about someone other than himself. It's probably a movie that maybe would be considered a little bit insensitive today because, of course,
I watched it recently. It's not that bad.
I
Yeah.
have really strong memories of it. I really like that movie.
Yeah, it's my number 12. I don't think it's particularly offensive now. I mean, Tom Cruise, when he is insensitive to his brother, is
Mhm.
portrayed as insensitive. I mean,
Right.
he's not trying to be funny. The movie is not where the movie is funny, it's like situationally funny. It's not like
Mhm.
the mean things Tom Cruise says to Dustin Hoffman are funny.
Right. Okay.
No, I
I
think
just wondered if people might have a problem with Dustin Hoffman, because he's not, he's someone playing someone with a
well,
disability.
who
That's
knows? But like this
yeah.
is we got to figure this out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not we can't keep doing this
Right.
conversation.
But hey, you know what? I love Rain Man. It's my number 6 movie of 1988. I think it's really good.
Mhm.
Number 5, Martin Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ. It's his retelling of what he feels was the last temptation of Jesus Christ.
Oh, is
Case
that what it's about?
that is what it's about. That it's not just a clever title. In this case, the very white Willem Dafoe plays Jesus, and the very white Harvey Keitel plays Judas Iscariot.
Oh, I have a problem with that. They got a Jewish actor to play Judas, but not Jesus. Come on.
Yeah, definitely on purpose. But yeah, it's really good. It's Scorsese, of course. I mean, it's really well done.
Never did it.
Eventually, you probably, I mean, if you want to cross off all the Scorseses, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll tell you what, I'll get to that before I get to Boxcar Bertha.
probably good. Number 4, a movie I'm surprised didn't show up on your list is Penny Marshall's Big.
Haven't seen it since I was probably 10 years old.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it's one I watched a lot as a kid, and I have rewatched it sometime not too long ago. But I love Big, one of my favorite Tom Hanks performances. Of course, if you don't know the story of Big, it's about a teenager who
Gets big.
it's big. Yeah, he gets big. He makes a wish to get big, and then he gets big and becomes an adult, gets a cool job, gets to make out with an adult girl, which is kind of weird because he's actually a teenager. But we're just gonna let that slide because it's a really charming movie. Yeah, it's really funny. It's nice. My number 3 is your number 1 film, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's wonderful. It's great. It's everything you said about it. I agree with. It's just a really terrific movie. Number 2 is also one that appeared on your list that you talked about, is My Neighbor Totoro. Just a lovely, lovely movie. Could watch over and over again. And my number 1 is a
Oh,
movie
can
I
I
have.
guess? Can I guess?
Yes, you can.
I'm fairly confident that your number 1 is Bull Durham.
It is Bull Durham. I adore Bull Durham. It is a movie I've watched over and over again. I quote lines from it frequently. I mean, I laugh every time I watch it. I love Kevin Costner baseball movies. I love Tim Robbins. I love Susan Sarandon. I love Robert Wool. He has a couple of really funny scenes in it. The manager also is really funny in it. I mean, baseball, I'm in the bag for baseball movies, and I think this is one of the better ones.
It's my number 14 of the year, so it did make my top 20 list.
Mhm.
Cool. Thanks. Great. Wonderful. That's good. Good list.